And so we may just be focusing on a different behavior or a different client, somebody that is consuming the education for a different purpose or result. And it's supporting consistency and maintenance. And so beyond what we teach, how do we actually make it applicable, and how do we help that person achieve those outcomes when we exit the equation? Coaching is applied behavior change because we are clarifying goals. So we're making sure that we understand very clearly what it is that we want our clients in coaching to achieve and what results that they want. We are building routines that support them. So again, behaviors are just, routines are just sets of behaviors, right? And so our morning routine, it's a series of behaviors. And so how do we identify those behaviors and then shape them? So helping support and coaching through routine. Teaching strategies. So using the teaching strategies we know to help our learners gain skills and use those opportunities to develop their own behaviors. And then providing feedback and measuring progress. So we already are comfortable tracking data. So how do we also make our coaching practice a measurable practice? How do we design ways to monitor if we're seeing the results that we want to see? Coaching can apply behavior analytic thinking to skill development. So if you're having trouble maybe crosswalking how you would use your behavior change expertise in a different field, start thinking through what skills would you want to help people develop? What habits could you help people form, right? Those are just behaviors that haven't stuck yet, right? Performance improvement, is that an area where you already have some experience? Do you enjoy creating systems and behavior plans to help people improve performance? And then systems optimization, so extending behavior to a broader context. How do I help this organization or even just this team achieve results? And so right now it's about transferring that behavior change expertise, because it's not limited to clinical settings. And so I'm curious in the chat if you're willing to share what ideas come to mind. What are some areas of coaching that you would really light up about? What would be a way that you could extend your behavior change expertise? Yeah, it was a waste of money. Legit, true story. Fitness, feeding, eating, awesome. Love that. Parenting, health and fitness, potty training, sleep training, parent training, adult services, awesome. Parenting in church, yeah. I love the very specific context. Executive functioning, gerontology. See, this is amazing. And this is really where I'm hoping personally, and part of my mission is that where we see the science go. I would love to see brave entrepreneurial BCBAs create more flexibility and freedom for themselves while also expanding our science into new territory, because right now it doesn't exist in these places. And if it does exist, it's probably pretty limited. Achieving early retirement. Yeah, Paul. Yeah, see, these are great ideas, except nobody is actually doing them. And so if you're thinking about them, if you feel kind of committed and excited, I definitely would explore what the next steps might be to start coaching. And so BCBAs can coach in areas where behavior change is central. So lots of your ideas obviously cover that scope. Systems influence outcomes. So where we can work with the environment to support results, right? And skills must be practiced and maintained. So where can we develop those skills through repetition and shaping? So what area or industry comes to mind? You've already shared some great ideas. Effective coaching really has 3 characteristics. And so you can kind of pressure test your idea through these different characteristics, but behavior change is the goal, right? So if I want to coach on something that feels a little less concrete, then maybe I want to get down to the actual behaviors that I'm trying to shape to achieve results. Strategies generalize across individuals. So as you kind of expand into coaching, you're also trying to create some freedom for yourself. And so where you can identify repeatable strategies that you use that can be built into a framework to support a broader audience, that's a great way to generalize. And then education improves implementation. So if I know these strategies and I can implement them, then I'm going to likely achieve results. And so I really need someone to teach me these skills so that I can achieve a desired outcome. You don't need to invent new skills. You already are applying expertise. Now you're just moving it into a new context. So some common non-clinical specialties that I see quite a bit, and I saw some of these in the chat, so that's really exciting. Health and wellness, performance and productivity, parent education and building their skill set, educator and staff development. So I've got people who work with teachers and paraprofessionals inside of our program, leadership and systems support. OBM is a huge one. We've got some consultants inside of our program as well that work with other businesses outside of ABA. It's a foreign idea, but it's definitely the direction we need to go if we want the science to have the power that it can have in the world. Which area or specialty interests you? You've already shared with me. If you haven't already, feel free to throw it in the chat. I love these ideas. They're really fantastic. So let's talk about evaluating competence. If you were at our course, CEU, I will kind of run through these. It's very similar in how we want to think about competence. And just a reminder that most of us are more competent than we think, especially those of you with imposter syndrome. That is just a signal that you care and that you want to provide results for your client. And that is very special and also should not hold you back. And none of us are eternally competent, right? The science is constantly evolving, and so our competence also needs to evolve with it. And ultimately, a lot of us are conditioned or convinced that a degree or a certificate or some specific job is kind of the terminal level of competence. So I got the paper, I'm competent, or I got the job, I'm competent. But frankly, we're never competent, at least not in a terminal way. And so our goal is to continue to evaluate our competence and develop it over time. So we'll start with the code here. It says practice only within the scope of competence, which is education, training, supervised experience, credentials, and appropriate professional experience. And so this is really what we mean when we say, hey, you have the skills, you've learned the science, you're getting some of that applied practice, and you are using those experiences to guide what you need to learn or develop next. Foundational knowledge, again, do you have those core concepts within the domain you're hoping to coach in? So if you want to coach in a specific specialty or industry or topic, do you have the core concepts down? So have you had structured training? Have you taken CEUs tied to this specialty? Have you read research or done journal clubs? If there's a relevant certification, would you explore that path, right? And the self-check here is, could I teach the basics clearly? It's a starting point to know that you have the foundational skills in that given area. Next is you want to be able to have that guided practice with feedback. So have you applied it within that context at any level, right? We always think we have to have hundreds of cases under our belt or extended years of practice in that specialty. But we all start somewhere. So have you had any guided practice with feedback? Have you done a supervised case or even a project? Have you done observation and helped debrief with a mentor? Have you reviewed plans and data and decision-making in that context? And if so, you're really just checking to see if you can demonstrate that you've tried and that you've gotten feedback and that you've improved on that feedback, right? You're really just moving into action instead of just conceptually growing the information in your head. You actually want to start practicing. And then independent performance here means you can perform the work safely without direct oversight. And usually this means you're starting small. Maybe you have one person you're coaching, or you have one organization or a small group that you're coaching. It can be a pilot project. It can be, again, limited scope. It can be work that you're doing really to gain that experience and not necessarily monetizing it yet. It can even be like really structured role play where you're working through some of those scenarios and, again, practicing the application of those skills within that context. Self-check here is, are my outcomes consistent and explainable? And can I recognize when I'm out of depth? So really practice is to help you, one, make that distinction between education and treatment and get very fluent at that so that you're referring people to treatment if that's what they truly need, and to validate your approach. So I'm taking these behavior change strategies, I'm applying them in a new context. Do they work, and do they work reliably? Can I achieve results with one client, two clients, three clients, a group of coaching clients, right? So you're really just, again, pressure testing your ideas. Christian, is it feasible to start small, a few clients, while still maintaining a full-time position at an ABA agency? Thanks, Matt. Yes. Good answer. Yeah, 100%. In fact, I recommend that people do start small. Often what I find is when people join our program, for example, they're like, do I need to quit my job? Do I need to like go part-time? And I recommend not, because you can use the capital that you're spending, you're getting from your job to help you learn some of the skills that you're going to need. Maybe you want to develop those skills in marketing. Maybe you want to share and have presentations or work with a couple of clients for a little less money so that you get that practice. And so I actually recommend that you do start there and kind of shift away gradually. Then maintenance and growth. So again, competence isn't permanent. It requires monitoring. So just have a system in place to get ongoing education, to consult with someone periodically and make sure you're not missing anything in your practice. Review some of the outcomes, right? Maybe you had a few clients successfully achieve results, and then maybe you had a couple that didn't. Really explore that and understand, why didn't they achieve results with my strategy? And do I need to incorporate some troubleshooting or address some barriers or objections that might help them more effectively get results in the future? So question here is, do I have a plan to keep skills current and avoid drift? Really, again, just monitoring your own plan and behavior. So on a scale from 1 to 5, I'm curious how you'd rate your competence in your area of interest. So if you're thinking about coaching, you wrote an idea down, an industry, a topic, a specialty, what is your competence right now? 3, awesome. 3 tells me you're ready to start. Start at a small scope, right? 4, 3, 2, 4, 3, awesome. See, so that's perfect. I think that's great. And all it is a ranking that helps you know, well, what do I need to do next to get one step further, right? It doesn't necessarily mean anything good or bad, but many of you are ready to start and probably are at a place where if you don't start, you'll never really achieve a 4 or a 5, right? You actually need to start to gain that competence to grow. And so it's great timing.